As manufacturers and distributors approach 2022 with an eye for growth, they do so amid many significant business disruptions. Among them, a need for supply chain consistency, raw materials, and talent acquisition top the list. SYSPRO is a software development company that provides integrated business solutions for accounting, manufacturing, and distribution operations, specializing in cutting-edge ERP. And they've recognized how the right business solutions can help solve the problems facing these companies, including everything from forecasting and inventory variables to cost controls, business intelligence, and production management. In an effort to explore the specific business conditions facing this select group of enterprises, SYSPRO conducted a global survey of manufacturing CFOs and released the results earlier this year, identifying their expectations for 2022, as well as key challenges. Today, we're joined by Scott Hebert, who is the CEO of SYSPRO USA, to discuss some of the key findings of the company's recent research. Scott, tell us a little bit more about some of the findings in the report.
Great, thank you, Anna. Well, the survey was a follow-up to one we did in late 2020 when we really wanted to find out what the effects of the pandemic were with health mandates on the manufacturing sector. And we were surprised to see that manufacturers were hurting from trying to get their employees back on premises and the supply chain disruptions. And so we did a recent survey to really find out how they were doing a year later, and we really found some important findings. It really wasn't a big surprise to find that manufacturers were facing delays in acquiring raw materials and inventory from either onshore or offshore suppliers. Many of the CFOs said this was their top challenge. The other challenge they had was hiring top talent and getting skills in-house. And looking ahead, we saw that inventory management was going to be a big risk for our manufacturing customers. And we weren't surprised to see that changing their digital strategies to handle the inventory reliance was really going to be important for their future.
Was there anything that surprised you about the results?
Absolutely. So based on what we've been hearing from our customers, we expected they'd be doing better, but we were surprised to find out how many were doing quite well. And I think it's related to the demand fell during the early part of the pandemic, and I think most people assume the manufacturers were hunkering down. And while there was a bit of that, a significant percentage actually invested in areas that would enable them to take full advantage of the economic recovery when it arrived, to grow and really go beyond it. And what we saw was, 42% expanded their operations, 41% invested in new equipment, 33% invested in new technology, and 27% invested in R&D. And less than 20% were the only ones that really kind of hunkered down and limited their spending. So we saw a really great indication that they were focused on really improving and getting ready for the upswing.
Scott, do you have any recommendations for how businesses can move forward with addressing some of these critical concerns?
So when we asked the CFOs about their top business priorities, we really found that there was a variety of challenges that they had to face, and securing a digital future was a really important part of it. So their top focus was investing in e-commerce and digital transformation technologies. And let me go through these with you in detail, because they really had to focus on what was important to handling these large inventories and the challenges they were facing. And many of them shifted their working capital and investment managing their cash flow to manage the rising inventory cost, also improving visibility in their performance and managing governance and risk. And finally, they were just trying to address an over-reliance on spreadsheets. So the important thing, what we also saw was many of the CFOs really saw that they would be able to recover either by the end of 2021 or well into 2022. And those were the challenges they faced and they needed to overcome. What we really found was if manufacturers are going to start thinking in the long term, they really need to invest in innovation and technological advancement now. And automation is the way to mitigate many of the labor risks that concern manufacturers. So things like AI, machine learning, and analytics can really help provide the insights to move the business forward to further reduce risk. An example of that is when they're dual sourcing. It's great during times like these with the supply chain restraints. But what we're finding is if they're going to do dual sourcing, they really need to have a complex process, and AI and analytics can help them navigate that. If not, dual sourcing can become quite a mess. So it's really important for them to become optimized and efficient to handle these challenges. And what we saw was most manufacturers also need to have a manufacturing operations management, which is basically a technology that provides a 360-degree view into the factory floor. so they can cut cost, increase productivity, and deliver products to customers faster. And what we also saw was whatever technologies an organization chooses to deploy, it's got to be tightly integrated into the ERP, which is the foundation of any Industry 4.0 initiative. And those organizations really need to invest in digital technologies and build on a solid foundation with an ERP built for manufacturing. And if they do this, they'll be well positioned to thrive no matter what comes our way. If the pandemic sets back in or we see other challenges, it really will allow them to survive and thrive through these times.